What's up guys, today we will be comparing the Pixel 6 Pro to the iPhone 13 Pro here, both flagship phones. So iPhone 13 Pro $1,000, Pixel 6 Pro slightly cheaper at $900 here. So as far as hardware, these are both premium designs here, so glass and aluminum frames on both of them, or stainless steel frame on the iPhone here. And they're both pretty heavy phones actually too, so really kind of heavy phones. It feels like the iPhone is kind of a little bit heavier. I don't think people realize how heavy this phone is, but that's what it feels like to me. And of course the Pixel 6 Pro is definitely a much bigger device here. If you wanted something to match the Pixel 6 Pro size, you would get the max version of this phone. Alright, so let's talk about the front design with the displays here. So on the 13 Pro, we do have the Super Retina XDR OLED display at 120 Hz, HDR10, and then it is a 6.1 inch. You can see definitely much smaller than the 6 Pro here. And then it is 1170 by 2532, 464 the PPI. It is a completely flat display as opposed to the Pixel's curved display. And then you do have a much bigger notch. And then we do have like a punch hole on the Pixel, so you can see that's kind of like the big difference between designs. As far as the specs on the Pixel 6 Pro's display, it is an LTPO AMOLED display, also 120 Hz HDR10 plus at 6.71 inches, and it is a 1440p display, 512 for the PPI. So very nice, bright, colorful displays. The Pixel definitely seems like it has more contrast, is a little bit more colorful. But these are both really nice displays, very color accurate displays, and I really enjoyed using them both. I do prefer the curved displays. I'm probably like some of the only people that really like curved displays. Most people do like flat displays. I don't get this phone does a good job with not doing the accidental touches thing, so I don't have an issue, and I think the curved displays really make the phone feel more premium to me. And I also want to answer the question, which one feels smoother? Like I said, they both have 120 Hz, so they both feel exactly the same in terms of smoothness to me. They both have the dynamic refresh rate, so they both go from 120 Hz to 10 Hz when you're not using it. I don't know what happened here. But yeah, so they both feel extremely silky smooth. I wouldn't say one is really smoother than the other, at least not that I can tell. Alright, so let's talk about these specs a little bit more here. So you can see I got the Geekbench scores up here. So here's what we're working with. So we got the Google Tensor chip, and then we have no SD card support, 128 gigs of internal storage, 12 gigs of RAM, Mali G78 GPU on the Pixel 6 Pro. And then on the iPhone we have iOS 15, Apple A15 chip, no SD card support, 128 gigs of internal storage, and 6 gigs of RAM here. So you can see the iPhone does beat the Pixel out with a pretty good margin. Actually doubles the score pretty much with the multi-core right there. Now when we get into launching applications, they should be still pretty much on par with each other, but the iPhone should be slightly faster. Yeah, so not a super, not anything too noticeable. And the Pixel actually loaded up that YouTube right there faster. So I think with games, like the iPhone will probably beat it, by just a hair. But it's nothing that I would really make a big fuss about, honestly. They're either extremely close, or sometimes the Pixel, depending on the application, will open something faster. Now also for PUBG, and I did a full speed test on my speed test channel if you guys want to check that out. I don't think PUBG is optimized yet for this Google Tensor chip, so it does not play at the settings that it should with the type of score that it has. So that is something, and again, the phone is not even really out yet. It comes out on the 28th, I believe. So again, I would expect for, PUBG to play at the right settings, but right now these are the settings that I'm getting, and I honestly think it's not gonna play at the settings. So you can see extreme, but then it switches to ultra, so we don't have extreme like on the iPhone, and we don't have the capability of going to ultra HD. It just stops at HDR, but it should even still be able to go HDR, extreme FPS. Now your gaming experience is still going to be really good on the Pixel 6 Pro. Like I said, only PUBG I found is not like really optimized yet. It should be playing at higher settings, but once they go ahead and update that for this new Tensor chip, I think it'll play fine. And like I said, the phone is really still not even out yet. But they both play fine. Check out the full gaming test on both of these phones. Super smooth gameplay. Anybody that's a gamer, you'll have a great time playing games on both of these phones. Alright, let's go ahead and compare these speakers here and see what we're working with. We got max volume on both. Start off with the iPhone. Alright, so I am pretty impressed. The Pixel 6 Pro does have louder bass than the iPhone, which is very impressive because the iPhone usually wins a lot of these tests here. Not only is it louder, but I can hear the lows, and I was saying that in the other video, I can hear the actual lows on the bass notes with the Pixel 6 Pro. It's really awesome. That is pretty impressive, guys. I mean, they both... Nah, the Pixel 6 Pro is also slightly louder as well. So the Pixel 6 Pro definitely has the louder and better speaker here. Just straight up. So very impressed with the Pixel 6 Pro speaker. Alright, so I do want to show you guys some side-by-side stills and video of these two phones so you can see what they look like side by side. So let's go ahead and talk about these specs first. So on the iPhone 13 Pro, you have a 12 megapixel standard, a 12 megapixel telephoto, 12 megapixel ultra wide, and then you also have a macro mode on here as well, which the Pixel does lack, unfortunately. And then you have 4K video, 2430 or 60 FPS, along with a 12 megapixel selfie, and that is 4K, 24, 25, 30, and 60 FPS as well. Now the Pixel 6 Pro does also have a triple camera setup too, and it does have much bigger sensors as far as resolution, a 50 megapixel standard, and then a 48 megapixel telephoto, and then a 12 megapixel ultra. One of the things I noticed right off the bat is just more detail overall with dynamic range shots, and then you have 4K video at 30 and 60 FPS, and then an 11.1 ultra wide selfie cam as well that can bounce out to 0.7, which is pretty cool. And that shoots in 4K 30 FPS. So let's go ahead and I'll show you those stills side by side so you can see what they look like. Alright guys, here's the video on the Pixel 6 Pro here. Go ahead and hit the 0.7. Two X. 4X. Go ahead and do a little walk here as well. Alright guys, here's the video on the iPhone 13 Pro here. Pay attention to the mic. Go ahead and hit the 0.5. X. And we'll just go ahead and walk a little bit. Let's talk about your additional features here. So you do have, like I said, IP68 dust and water resistant on both. You have NFC on both of these phones as well, and you also have wireless charging on both of these phones too. And unfortunately, you only have one method of getting into your phone on both. So you have Face ID on the iPhone, which works really fine and perfectly fine. It's very fast. I have no issues. And then we have our in-display fingerprint sensor on the Pixel, which also works. Usually they would give you two options, like on pretty much any Samsung device you would still have a face unlock. That's why I really like those devices, but on the Pixel 6 Pro they opted out to not do that. And with the iPhone 13 Pro, you guys know there's no other option. There's no in-display or Touch ID or anything like that. So I always advocate for having two methods, but the methods that they do have, they work perfectly fine, so I don't have an issue with that. So let's go ahead and talk about battery performance, because these are two battery champs. These phones do an excellent job with battery life. So you have a bigger 5003 milliamp battery with 30-watt charging. So the Pixel 6 Pro charges very fast. And then you also have 23-watt wireless charging, so it even charges, you know, pretty decently fast through wireless charge too. And it also has a reverse wireless charging capability, which, let's see if I can show you guys. Okay. So you can charge earbuds, another phone, as you can see, boom, which is pretty cool. Okay, so the iPhone does have a 3095 milliamp battery, but don't be fooled by the size, because of Apple's optimization. You're getting just as good as battery life as on the Pixel, if not slightly better, which is actually kind of crazy. So it's 3095 milliamps and then 23-watt charging, which is definitely a little bit slower than the Pixels. And then you have MagSafe wireless charging at 15 watts, and then you have the standard wireless charging at 7.5 watts. So I'm really impressed with both of these devices. Which device would you guys prefer, the Pixel 6 Pro or the iPhone 13 Pro? Be sure to let me know, and I'll catch you guys in the next one.